My
What
God,
did I
this
think about?
motherfucker when he asks questions like this, he's coming off like such a fucking smart ass.
No, it's
Well,
not
it's just
smart
like
ass.
what's gonna happen with the Republican Party? Are they gonna continue with the same shit that they're doing now? What about the old Republicans and stuff like that? I guess speaking out, like saying this is not the Republican Party that I'm a part of. Is that enough for you, Edwin, or you need me?
That was clarification.
Yo, did you feel that?
Yeah, that's weird. Like who gets mad when asked to clarify stuff? That's weird. But let's do we?
It's the base. LOSO__G.
DK, the engineer.
It's your boy, Let Have the T, B4V. You go, boy.
It's the base.
Run down.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
So let's get this conversation started. So on the last episode or the series finale of Trump Lincoln Ball Z, this motherfucker.
Yeah, that was a reach. Oh, yeah.
Trump Lincoln Ball Z. I think that's a good one. Well, whatever. We all gathered the spirits and we voted this motherfucker out of office, but he definitely set things up in a way to make it more difficult for the upcoming or the incoming president, which is Biden. So usually at the beginning of someone's presidency, right, there's this thing that's called to or referred to as like the first 100, right? So this is not something that's like by law or anything like that. It's more of like an informal thing, and it's like it was first really coined by FDR, right? So or the 32nd president, specifically about him passing like 15 major pieces of legislation and 76 laws when he came into office. But he came into the office in a specific situation where he inherited 4 years of the Depression. So he pretty much had to do what he had to do. But since coining that, that's kind of become like an American thing where the first 100 days of anybody being in the presidency, everybody just kind of watches it closely. And whether it's fair or not, whatever, kind of just judge or use that as like a benchmark in regards to how they think the presidency is going to go from now or their specific party. So just noticeable things that happen in the first 100s is JFK ordering the Bay of Pigs. Apparently, Ronald Reagan announced the list of like U.S. diplomats also within his 100 days. And Barack Obama, he ended up getting the stimulus package signed within his 100 days, things like that.
Yeah.
So I guess before we go into like judging the living daylights out of Biden and, all these politicians, us being, just regular folk, I just kind of wanted to pose a question about like this first 100, right? Like pretty much is it even fair to like, think about something or even talk about something like that, especially when it comes to, to politics and stuff like that. I'll say that like, I don't necessarily think it's fair to be like, oh, these first 100 is how we're, this is how it's going to set the tone for the rest of, the rest of your presidency. Like I don't think we should take it as serious as like TV makes it out to be, but it is what it is, right? Like we've already fucking been doing it. There's no stopping it. So here we are. We're going to judge this motherfucker. And he hasn't been fucking, what were you going to say?
I was going to jump in. I was this is how I view it, right? Y'all ever got into a relationship with a woman who had like the shittiest past boyfriend? So every regular thing you do, and she's like, oh my God, this is amazing. They can either go that way, or they can just take all this shit like Trump dumped and then put it on Biden and say Biden is doing it, even though Trump did it. So yeah, it's like two options, bro. He can either like really just kind of just coast and do regular things and we make it really big and amazing, or they're gonna be like, yo, this guy is doing some bullshit. I agree with you, DK. I don't think we should judge him off the first 100 because he's cleaning up a lot of shit that's been left in his plate, bro.
I do like the pressure that he's putting on, though, because I feel like this pressure, this idea of the first 100 is putting the pressure on to like actually do stuff and make promises, and commit to the promises you made while you were campaigning, or as many as you possibly can. What do you think? You think it's fair, Hugo?
I think that I think he's not just inheriting obviously the aftermath of a shitty presidency with Trump and 45, but the fact that he's inheriting COVID and a really not just a pandemic, but a freaking, this is like, I remember Katie Porter, I love her. I follow her all the time on Twitter. She was talking about how we're not looking for COVID relief. This is like disaster management. like all the freaking evictions and the deaths and freaking job loss and homelessness and poverty and all this stuff. Meanwhile, on the heels of like racism and the freaking George Floyd and the Breonna Taylor and the racial awakening and all that stuff, like these are odd times that we're dealing with right now. And yeah, I mean, Biden, this is what you this is why you run for president. Like it's kind of like Designated Survivor. Like every episode, there's some shit that Kiefer Sutherland just has to deal with because he's the leader of the free world.
Like 24, like
yeah, free world.
24 back to back.
Pretty much like 24 as president. So I think that I think it's fair, obviously, to hold him to a standard because that's what we do with presidents. That's what we do with commander in chiefs. You know, that's the highest office in the land for a reason. You know, it's leadership on the highest level, and you know he's going to be judged accordingly. And this is what he signed up for. So I think it is fair to hold him to that standard. Not to mention, like we've mentioned before, the Democrats have all the power. Literally all the power now, like in all three branches, with the House, the Senate, and the Oval. So it's like, all right, like what you got? Because there's no way to go but up. So what you got for us, buddy?
As I was saying, you can't fuck up more. I mean, you can. Anybody can.
You can.
But
you can. But it's like we would assume, we would hope that the adults are in the room now. So let's get to work and let's see what we can do. To try to get this headed toward the right direction, because if he does drop the ball, hypothetically speaking, he'll be a one-term president too. Like you'll get your 4 years.
If the conspiracy people are wrong about Kampala being the plant, bro. She's gonna be president for 12 years, bro. I'm calling it now.
Oh my god, he's still stuck on her, like Kamala being the Manchurian candidate.
Right.
Like, yo, bro, let it go.
12 years.
Like,
she doesn't have juice like that.
All right, so let's see what this motherfucker promised us right before while he was campaigning and shit like that, or what he claimed is going to be like his first priorities, right? There's the American Rescue Plan, which I'm leaving for last because I'm actually upset about something about that. Okay. He also said a pretty I don't know if it's a high goal or not, but whatever. He said by his 100th day in office, he hopes to have 100 million people vaccinated. He's apparently pushing kind of hard on opening schools, which I don't think is going to happen. He said he's going to work on the Paris Climate Agreement, which Trump tried to pull out of. Immigration reform, which he's actually doing his diligence, or at least moving it in the right direction, and nixing the Muslim travel ban. So he's only had like a little bit about 3 weeks, right, in office, and this motherfucker has been killing it, son. He's already passed 28 executive orders, shit, and which is kind of like a big deal, just compared to like all the other presidents. He's already been fucking beasting. Some people are kind of saying something about that, just like the fact that he's being so aggressive, which on my end, I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I think the Democrats in general need to start flexing and stop this whole like because I feel like if it was the other way around, the Republicans wouldn't be, as hesitant to like flex.
They would have been wild like Trump did when he first got in.
So yeah, man. So I don't know. Do you think it's a cause for concern? You think like you mentioned earlier, right? The Democrats own each part of the government right now,
all three.
And it's just like this is setting, the tone for like we're gonna do what we need to do. But is it a bad thing? Because it's going the other direction where we have them just becoming another form of Retrumplicans, but by dumplicans.
Okay.
Ed boy, go ahead. I got more to say, but Ed boy.
I don't know. That's a lot to unpack. I mean,
take your time, brother. Take your time, preacher.
It's a bad. I mean, it's a bad thing if you're not a Democrat. Like, I mean, it's totally it's totally based on perspective, and it's hard to evaluate like a president's I don't know. I've been thinking about this a lot, and it's very hard to evaluate a president in the middle of their presidency so soon, especially when they're just passing all these executive orders. It's hard to like know the downstream effects of everything. So it's I don't know. But as far as, you know, politics circa 2021, you know, any political party that's going to be in power is going to flex. I think gone are the days of at least some sort of I don't know. There's just some sort of unwritten rules of like give and take and civility that's kind of existed in American politics, and that's kind of gone out the window. So whoever is in whatever position is going to flex as much as they can. The thing is, it's that you have to do it wisely, because there's something called political capital, and political capital is basically, you know, your ability to get things done. And it's not something that's like tangible, but it's just an idea, right? So like for example, Obama, the Affordable Care Act, he exhausted a lot of political capital pushing that through, and because of that, it's very hard for to get politicians to buy in, and particularly politicians maybe on the other side, you know, because even though the Democrats have a majority now, that doesn't mean they can just pass whatever they want, you know. They can still get filibustered, things of that nature. So even though the Democrats have all of the chips, they have to be smart about what they want to expend their political capital on. They have to be very, like, just railroading everything is going to backfire pretty hard. So they have to be pretty strategic. And then two, it's like when we say Democrats, who are we talking about? Joe Biden is kind of more on the establishment Democrat,
Democrat.
You know, moderate, traditional, you know, can appeal, quote unquote, to both sides of the aisle. And then you have, you know, a lot of Democrats, particularly younger people. You know, you have the AOCs, the Omars, etc., the more progressive wing, who really want to push, you know, very
communism,
specific,
socialism.
Like, no, I mean, some. I mean, I guess some, but like, you know, not everyone. They're not necessarily card-carrying socialists, but
Venezuela.
We're talking about like people who want Medicare for all, people who are for way more robust like stimulus packages,
universal basic income,
universal UBI, things like that. So
Green New Deal, climate change, all that stuff.
It's going to be very interesting how that plays out. So you have like on the red side, you have the far right Trumpicans, as DK likes to say it, and then you have, you know, your, you know, regular Republicans, and then on this side you have your regular old, you know, moderate Democrats, and then you have the quote unquote the left leaning one. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. I think it's going to be a lot of back and forth. And Biden doesn't have that cult of personality, so people aren't going to be afraid to like say shit to Biden. Like coming at Biden won't have the same political cost as coming at Trump would if you're a Republican.
People coming after Joey about dementia. Crazy, bro. That's, I mean, like they've been picking at that son for months now.
Of course. I mean, he's always had a stutter though. Like, I mean, he's had a stutter for like forever.
Just reminds me of like a little doofy uncle, son. Like just
he is a little goofy. Like he's like very, very boomerish, very stereotypical.
Oh, don't say boomer, bro.
What do you mean? I mean that's what he is. Like
the cancer police.
Okay. Boomers don't use Instagram. No, I'm kidding. No, yeah.
They use MySpace.
You gonna say something, Hugo?
Yeah. I mean, you know, that boy did a good job of highlighting that because again, we mentioned this in the past about, you know, the parties within the parties. You know, the progressives, the centrists, the Yangs of the world, the AOCs of the world, and the corporate Democrats who are pretty much Republicans. You know, because it's about money, it's about capital.
Did you see AOC?
That's a spicy take.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh,
I did.
That's a spicy take. The Democrats are the real Republicans. Okay. No,
shit. I mean, capitalism, the way capitalism works. ... So you can honestly say that We know we the informed and the initiated, we understood what was going on when President Biden now, separated himself from the pack, from Bernie and Yang and Elizabeth Warren and everybody else when he was running for the Democratic nomination.
Shit, I would too. I want to get elected.
Exactly. and people were smart to fall in line because they're like, all right, well, we're not going to be president, but we don't want to lose our seat in Congress, or we want a spot in his cabinet. So, he got it. He got the juice now. You know what I mean? He's Bishop. He got thrown off the roof. So it's like, but yeah, it's understandable the way he's going about it because of who he is. I'm not shocked by the aggressiveness. I'm not shocked by the fact that Chuck Schumer is coming out saying that, we need bold change. The interview he did with Rachel Maddow was great. Chuck Schumer, he's like, listen, if this were up to Republicans, we wouldn't be doing shit, because we haven't been doing shit for months and months and months because they don't want to do anything. They're still pull yourself by the bootstraps, America. Figure it out. That's a poor person's problem. Republicans still believe this, still to this day. We'll get to the stimulus later on in the show because the vote reflected that. But the onus is on the Democrats to deliver and come through. But like Ed Boy said, they got to be smart how they go about it because, checks and balances exist for a reason. We all know this.
Yep. So yeah, I guess touching up, let's talk about a little bit more about some of the executive orders he passed, because I think there's like common themes when you look at them, and clearly some of them are him just, fulfilling some of his promises. A lot of the things actually are him undoing bad, or as he would call it, like just undoing
bad policy. He said that.
I'm not making new law. I'm eliminating bad policy. Good job, Joey Grabstones, man, with that quote.
Joey Grabstone.
I love that.
Grabstone.
I love that because really, we mentioned this. When Obama took over, before he even got to Obamacare and his drone strikes and all this stuff.
Metal Gear Solid, Obama is
yeah, before he got
Obama would be a fucking boss if this was like Metal Gear Solid 7.
He'd be the end.
Before Obama got to all the stuff that he really wanted to get to, Metal Gear Solid, that's hilarious. He had to freaking do a lot of the same shit that Joey had to do, man. He's had to undo a lot of the stuff that freaking George W. left behind for him after 8 years. You see what I'm saying? So, and that's going to take up really his first whole year. If you really think about it, they say first 100 days, really, he's not going to really get down to it until the economy completely turns around, until we completely get a grip on COVID, until the unemployment and the job rates, until a lot of that stuff balances out, until the deaths balance out. Then he's like, okay, now I can be president. Now I can put in, my agenda and this, that, and third. This is still preseason, bro. This is still training camp. This isn't even regular season yet, and let alone playoffs. Playoffs is election time. You see what I'm saying? So
you gotta clean up the dirty house, bro. You gotta clean up the dirty house that was left behind.
Facts. Big facts.
Yep. So just going off, just spitting out some of the titles to some of the executive orders. Some of them we could probably assume what's actually going on in them, but whatever. There's the revocation of certain executive orders concerning federal regulation. I don't know, man. To be honest, I try to read some of these, and I have a master's, and some of the language is hard. But just other things that are I guess, random from my point of view. There's an executive order dealing with ethics commitments by executive branch personnel. I don't even know what that means. Advancing racial equity and support for underserved. Oh,
see, that's why you got to know how to read first.
Underserved communities through the federal government. Another one, preventing and combating discrimination on the basis of gender identity or sexual orientation. There's another one, ensuring the future is made in all of America by all of America's workers. I don't know about that, man. Americans don't want those fucking jobs, bro.
It's hard. It's hard. Well, yeah, that's true. But it's hard, like, just reading through some of these things, because it's like the title doesn't necessarily say anything about what's happening. You know what I mean? Like, you could slap on any old name and,
But it sounds like they're good, like, clearly titles, but, like, clearly for us to read and like get a certain feeling about it.
Yeah.
So the other one has to do with reforming our incarceration system to eliminate the use of privately operated criminal detention facilities. This, I guess, was a big deal because go ahead, man. I just heard about it on social media.
One thing that he did do is that the federal government is not renewing their contract with private prisons on a federal level.
Yeah, that was big. That was major.
That's pretty big. Well, we'll see, because that could just mean they're canceling the contracts now, and then they'll just get new contracts later. I don't know how many. Like, it can't be that many prisoners that are affected, but it's at least like in maybe the thousands. It's definitely in the thousands, maybe the tens of thousands. I'm not quite sure, but that is a pretty big deal because the private prison system, that's, I don't know. Me personally, I think that's a pretty big issue. Outsourcing criminal justice to private firms. That just kind of seems like at least there'd be a small conflict of interest. I don't know. But that's pretty big. That's pretty big. And we'll see if that turns into something, or if that's just kind of like, let's get people to shut up about it and then low key, keep it going. We'll see.
I mean, the progressives love that. I mean, I was on Twitter and every freaking body from the progressive caucus, they were retweeting that like crazy. It was like, okay, this is a step in the right direction to combat disproportionate Blacks and Latinos being incarcerated throughout the country, which falls back in line with systemic racism and all that good stuff. So yeah, but we'll see how that plays out and how they're rolling that out actually, because it very well could be what Ed Boy said, like, yeah, we're canceling private prisons because we just haven't figured out a way to make more money off of it. Oops. So
yeah. So there's the other one, protecting the federal workforce, which I believe that has to do with the $15 minimum wage thing. I mean, we spoke about this before, man. Like, I don't know, man. Sometimes I'm like, yo, you should just force companies. I don't know. I don't know enough about that economic shit.
Yeah, man. I wish I knew more about economics, but the way I think about it, it's that it's a good idea on paper, but I don't know how feasible it is if you take that policy to like a rural area, or if you take it to places where it's primarily small business. Like, I don't know how they would be able to,
I see what you're saying,
fulfill that. Like someplace like New York, like someplace, maybe a mandate, I don't even know how this would work in policy, but maybe having large corporations or corporations over a certain market cap, maybe they need to pay their workers a certain amount, $15, whatever the number will be. But I don't know how you could go to someplace like, I don't know, like rural Alabama, a small shop, and have them pay their employees $15 an hour, let alone the small business owners not even making that much. I don't know. It just seems like, I don't know. It just seems a little virtue signally, It's just like, oh yeah, we're with the people, $15 minimum wage, but I don't think that's gonna fly.
Let me put that in even more layman's terms. New York's rent is crazy high, so the $15 an hour would make more sense for somebody that's working in New York as a minimum wage. However, if it's a worldwide thing for the minimum wage, and you're in like
worldwide,
not worldwide,
the U.S. is worldwide. What other countries?
Children working in South African coal mines can now make $15 an hour.
You know about that? I saw a tweet that was like, anytime there's a worldwide problem, it's just in America. Like, they don't think about nobody else. But anyway, in movies, going back to the so if it's countrywide, right, it would be somebody who pays like probably like $800, maybe less a month for like a free family home, making $15K. They're millionaires now. I mean, not $15K, $15 an hour. They're millionaires now, right? So it's like that boy said, it's hard to like gauge the economic policies and try to figure out like who's going to be affected, who's not. I don't know if they're going to do it state by state. Maybe that would be a solution, but even with that, it's still kind of fucked up.
Yeah, I wish I just knew more about like, macroeconomics and shit like that, so I could make like a really informed opinion. But that's just my feeling. I just think they're just talking shit and just trying to appease some people. But maybe I think it's a step in the right direction talking about it regardless. So
I think the idea, I don't know enough about like economics from that sense to see to confidently be like, yeah, if we do this, this is the effect that it would have, which kind of contradicts, what I'm thinking. But the conspiracy in me is just thinking, all right, this is really for the big companies, right? Because if, like you were mentioning, at the middle of America, all these other small towns that have a lower standard of living can't pay for that. Who's going to be able to afford that? Big companies. So they'll just come in and fucking rule more about the fucking world.
Oh, that's the power play. That's the power play. We're going to raise the minimum wage, make it seem like we're helping the people, but we'll starve all the small businesses. And we all know, like, Amazon are the only people that are going to be able to pay $15 an hour.
So this is just
that's exactly my point.
So this
that's the bit. That's the power play.
So basically, this sounds like QAnon now. But anyway, so basically, this
whoa, buddy, no, buddy, pal.
So basically, $15 an hour is just a ploy to expand gentrification nationwide. Okay, got it.
I mean, hey, like, from a non-conspiracy standpoint, like, there are a lot of things like that. Like, when they say companies hate regulations and things like that, like, the more roadblocks that you put for smaller businesses, the better it is for larger businesses.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what I mean?
Monopoly.
Monopoly.
But yeah, moving on past the $15 an hour, there was another one passed enabling all qualified Americans to serve their country in uniform. So this seems to be a pretty big deal because I guess the previous administration created policy that barred transgender people from joining the armed forces. So I guess they pulled back on some of that, but in almost all circumstances. So that, I want to highlight that wording specifically. But, overall, it's a win. Then there's a set of policies dealing specifically with immigration. Three of them were actually posted, like, signed a few days ago. So he's being real aggressive about that. So there's the revision of civil immigration enforcement policies and priorities, creating comprehensive regional framework to address the causes of migration and a bunch of other words, and orderly processing of asylum seekers at the U.S. border, establishment of interagency task force on the reunification of families. Hopefully the document actually says what the title implies. Restoring faith in our legal immigration systems and strengthening integration and inclusion efforts of new Americans. How the fuck are you gonna restore faith? I'm not sure about those type of executive orders, like ones that seem to be more like that'll only work out if you directed a TV show.
Well, here's the thing. It's like to me, everything you just read, those specific targeted executive orders, those are a step in the right direction. Absolutely, in my opinion. The fact that they're not going to abolish ICE though, because again, Homeland Security and they make too much money off of that. You see what I'm saying? That kind of ties back to the private prisons. Because again, okay, you're going to abolish that, but you're not going to completely abolish that because you still make millions and millions of dollars.
Who's making millions?
The government.
Trump.
The government.
The man.
Like we watched Immigration Nation or whatever. And remember, like the judges, that basically that whole sector of the court system, ICE itself, that's like a division within a division inside the legislative branch, I believe. Like those aren't appointed like government officials. Those are private, like contracted judges, private contracted ICE officials that go in and round up people in freaking Washington Heights
and New Jersey, your neighborhood.
New Jersey. You see what I'm saying? And Arizona and the rural areas. Like they make buku dollars off of that shit, bro.
If I remember, the big thing was that the system was incentivized to,
yes,
to bring more and more people. I can't remember exactly how that was. I guess how the sales bonus worked for them. But yeah, I mean, I guess if there's money being made, they're not going to abolish it. But like,
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. But I think I feel like it's a step in the right direction. You know what I mean? You pick your battles, you pick your victories. You see what I'm saying? It's like, like again, people are happy that again he is fulfilling his promise on that. He did say that during the debates, he's like, yo, immigration is a problem. The fact that you served in the military and you could still be kicked the fuck out of the country, that's a problem.
You know what,
That's
you know
fucking insane. That is absolutely insane to me. Like,
you know what?
it makes no sense. It makes no sense.
Agreed.
And then when you try to talk again, I'm going to cut you off because I want to let the people know how little sense that makes. It doesn't make no.
No, I was actually watching something earlier that spoke about immigration and specifically, actually led to immigration. It was talking about just the declining birth rates in America and stuff like that, and how I guess they expect COVID to kind of have an effect that kind of exacerbates that. So the issue came of like, right, if you're not having enough babies, like you need to have a certain rate of like reproduction and stuff like that. So you can have like, you need young workers in a sense, right? You need workers from all different ages, right? But if you're having less kids, that means you're going to have less healthy workers. And like immigration is in a sense like the easiest way to keep your workforce young, especially because you can pretty much pick and choose the people that come into the country. So maybe this immigration thing will turn out to be, maybe go in the opposite direction, like down the line, assuming that like birth rates do keep declining in the way,
Yeah, generally, when it comes to birth rates, in every single case, the more, the higher income country is, the more prosperous the country is, the more developed they are, the birth rate goes down. All the lowest birth rate countries are all first world countries. Like that's always the case. And even in places that we would think that are like places like sub-Saharan Africa, places like certain places in Central, Southeast Asia, places like that, their birth rate is declining too. Even though it's much higher than U.S. and other first world nations, but their birth rate's going down because their standard of living is going up. Like their, developing nations are coming up. It's not really spoke about too much because people assume that, third world countries are just like fucking shitholes, but that's not the case.
So people fuck these kids up, boy?
You said what?
People are saying fuck these kids?
I mean, bro, that's been, people have been saying fuck the kids for forever. No one cares about the kids. It's unfortunate.
FTK.
But
That's terrible. That's terrible.
That's terrible,
DK. That's terrible.
DK, that's fucked up.
Well, we're on the topic of kids, yo. He also passed an executive order supporting the reopening and continuing operations of schools and early childhood education providers. Bro, I feel like, motherfucker, that ship has sailed, bro. I feel like people have just already planned, like, if I was a teacher, I would have planned to just not go back to school the rest of the year. I feel like this is just way, way too forced, but whatever. I guess there's enough people out there that want it. Yeah, it depends on the area. That's a good point.
I think we're in the minority, bro. Like, I think we're in the minority. We're just kind of like, I don't know. Maybe it's because where we live or our position, but the more I kind of look outward to how the American sentiment is, like people really just want to return back to normal. People want schools to open. People are just over the shit. People are just over it.
People are tired of their kids.
Yeah, that too. They're not gonna say it, but like they don't want to see their kids that much.
We need our free baby back, bro.
Some are saying it.
It's just I don't want to die, boy. It's just the workers who work in the schools that don't want to die. But everybody wants to send their fucking kids back, bro.
Yeah.
They don't care about their kids.
They don't care.
Yo live. It doesn't matter if you got long-term effects. Go ahead. Go fucking live.
It's just a call. It doesn't matter. You'll be fine. Like, come on, bro.
Yeah, it's the teachers. If I was a teacher, I'd be like, "What the fuck, bro?" Like,
and it's like they're forcing us to like, "All right, cool. You go home to school, but there's a vaccine. You don't have to take it, but you kind of got to take it."
So it's like, all right, cool. Education is the bedrock of our society. Like, we really want schools to start again. All right, prioritize teachers and administrators. Give them, give them the resources that they need. Get them the vaccine. Like do whatever you can if you're really serious about the shit. Instead of just leaving, like, whatever DOEs exist around the nation, they're just kind of like, well, you got to figure out a plan on how to operate. I mean, they're gonna have to do that anyway, but there just seems to be no guidance, no rhyme or reason. I don't know. Maybe there is. Maybe I'm just not informed, but it just kind of seems like a clusterfuck of people doing their own thing, which has been the whole COVID response in general. In a nutshell.
Well, I mean, the rescue a portion of the rescue plan, the newest relief package that the Senate will pass. I believe they're going to pass it. Like there's a portion there for contact tracing, for testing, and for vaccines. Like there has been a significant amount of money that's been earmarked for it, and that's nationwide. On top of money for businesses, small businesses, and of course, direct relief and unemployment, and this, and a third. So it's like, but in particular, the vaccines and the vaccinations. To me, it's going to come down. We mentioned education as one of the fields. Entertainment's another one. Like if I'm in contact with a writer for Showtime, and I talk to him all the time, and he's just like, "Yo, bro, like if you really think that you're gonna be a writer or an actor or a showrunner or camera operator or makeup or catering, and you think you're gonna get back into the business when this stuff dies down or get called for a project and not take the vaccine, you might as well find another career because you're going to have to take the vaccine. It's just what it is." You know what I'm saying? So really based on what your profession is for the most part, because I don't think it'll be like federal, like this isn't a dictatorship. Like it's not going to be like, listen, Americans, you must take the vaccine.
Some might disagree.
So, you know what I mean? Some might disagree with
that. Yeah. When the government tells you to do
Even
anything, prouder. It's a dictatorship. Yeah. Some people already think that.
True. But I just think it's to me, it's a case by case, whatever your field is. And whatever your industry is, for the most part, that's going to dictate whether or not it's priority in that field, And we'll see. We'll see. The fact that it's in the relief bill, that would lay the foundation and lay the groundwork, in my opinion, that they're going to try to make it a priority in for essential workers and for entertainment and for education and health care and this, that, and the third. So, you know what I mean? We'll see how it plays out, but to me, they're laying the groundwork for it. So that's that.
We'll see, because he's going freaking hard on just executive orders dealing like just around COVID. And I'm actually glad to see that some of them I feel like are more forward thinking, like putting faith back in science and like preparing for the next pandemic. Like, because I think people need to understand it's inevitable, and we've had like pandemics before. I think when Obama was in, but we were able to get that under control, like just a lot easier. But whatever. Just to mention a few of the ones he passed. There's organizing and mobilizing the U.S. government to provide a unified and effective response to combat COVID-19 and to provide leadership on global health and security. I don't know. That sounded me more just about like setting the tone for science, making sure people respect it. There's the one protecting the federal workforce and requiring masks for federal workers. There's another one that has to do, I guess, with protecting worker health and safety. I didn't look into that one. Then there's the ensuring an equitable pandemic response and recovery. I'm not sure how they're going to enforce it, something like that. Then there's another one that establishing a pandemic testing board and ensuring public health workforce. And I guess just preparing for other biological threats. There's improving and expanding access to care and treatments for COVID-19 and a sustainable public health supply chain. So it's like, here's the thing, right? So this all sounds great, and we're doing it now because clearly we're in a pandemic. But how are you going to keep that momentum going, or how are you going to prevent people from pulling back on some of these things, in a few years when they forget about it? Because like I think, if I'm not mistaken, which president was the one that like put together like a fucking playbook on like how to respond to?
It's FDR. To me, I think it was FDR.
Was it? I thought a more recent president updated it. I don't know if it was Bush or Obama. But whatever, that's besides the point, right? Like, there was preparation for it, but for some reason, we just didn't take that shit serious. And that's kind of like just the thing with I guess the saying history repeats itself. But,
well, I mean, that's what a lot of Democrats, corporate and progressive and centralists, that is something that they have agreed on. They're just like, yo, now that President Biden is in office with the sweep of the three branches of government, it's like, yo, we need bold action. We need something like the New Deal. We need something on a grand scale that's going to benefit all Americans, whether you're a freaking Democrat or not, whether you're an independent or freaking an anarchist, whatever, Republican, Trumplican, all that stuff. We need something that is going to help everyone, because again, this COVID thing does not discriminate against political affiliation. Although red states have it way worse than blue states in most cases. But yeah, so, but I think that, again, these executive orders, it's a step in the right direction. That's the way I'm looking at it. I don't know how you guys are seeing it. I look at it as, okay, he said he freaking ran on, I'm going to get shit done if I become president. And he is doing his best. This is just the start of showing that, listen, I'm dead serious. I wasn't joking. I'm going to try to get shit done, up to my capabilities. So
I just hope he keeps that shit up, bro, because there's one thing that kind of really upset me about him already. It's I remember he made a promise for $2,000, and now he's only giving us $1,300. $1,400. Well, fuck that. I don't give a fuck if it's an extra $100.
But
I did not realize this promise was made after the $600 that was already that we already got. So I want 2 G's.
You just want fun money.
I want seed money, bro. Give us seed money to start this business.
But you are getting 2,000.
No, man. I know how math works, bro. And what they did was just add numbers that were around each other. They were like, you see, we got you. No, my man.
But 6.
I want.
But 6 plus 14.
It's 20.
It's 20.
6 plus 14 is stimmy, bro.
Fuck out of here, man. Like, the thing is, it's just like, I get that I don't need it, but I want the seed money. But like, no, my man. 2 G's not a lot. 2 G's not a lot for other people.
I need it. I've done the math in my head. I mean, it all comes out to quite a bit, considering that I don't pay that much anyway. So it's just like, yo, like, I'll take whatever you're gonna give me. I'm not complaining. I'm not. Boy, though, I want to hear Ed Boy's point on the $1,400 checks now versus the 2,000 that they ran on. Like, how do you feel like this is being executed? Do you feel like it's an okie doke? Do you feel like we've been bamboozled, ran amok? Like, what are your thoughts on the way Democrats are rolling this out?
I mean, they're giving us that number because everyone is mentally anchored to 2,000.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only reason. Like,
GameStop.
Like 1,400 is such an arbitrary number. Like, how did you come out with that number if it wasn't 600 plus 1,400? like it's just a real arbitrary number. Like, I would like to be in the room. It's like, okay, how did you come up with this number? What was the thought process? Everyone's like,
6 plus 14.
1,400 plus 600 is 2,000. They said it'd give you two. Like, I don't know. Like, like money is better than no money, but this is an example of like politics, right? It's not necessarily what makes the most sense. It's not what's most effective, but it's what makes the most sense based on, what's been said previously by someone else.
Right.
So we're getting $1,400 because reasons. That's the reason, because reasons. That's it. So
I'm not cool with this, bro.
Are you gonna send it back though?
Right.
I'll take it.
If you're really serious, you're gonna donate it to like a food kitchen, and we'll do it live.
The DK food kitchen. Fuck out of here, man.
Wow.
Everybody was complaining about the 600, but when my shit hit on New Year's Day, I was like, I bet.
Man,
here's kind of like the thing, and this is the one thing that
I haven't gotten any money yet, so I'm waiting.
Yo, check your shit, because I get my shit mailed too,
bro. You make you make more than Andrew Yang, so that's why you're not.
No, not even a little bit. And Andrew Yang is like 700 of me, like.
So here's kind of like one of the things that like kept being brought up about like the stimulus thing, right? There's this whole thing about wanting bipartisan, like this to pass, like participation right from both sides and shit like that. And I guess from one side, right, people are saying this is good, this is what he wanted, this is what he said he was gonna do. He wants both parties, to work together. But then from the other end, right, people are saying that this is stupid. Republicans aren't going to cooperate, right? It's essentially just going back to the old tactics where it's just like we're just gonna say no to anything. And this is a little bit different than I guess the previous times that we were in this specific scenario, right? Because like we have the majority now, so it doesn't really matter. So this is kind of like I guess what people are saying is just like yeah, well, I guess really what they're saying on the shitting on him and is like, why bother with this, right? They wouldn't do this if it was the other way around. And it's just not worth it. Like, you're not going to get them to cooperate. So like, why bother with this bipartisan stuff when you got promises that you made and you got the authority to do it?
Well, I mean, I think that when the Senate passed the budget, so the actual money that's going to go into the bill, the Senate passed that 51-50. So just unpack that statement right there. 50 Republicans still came out and said, fuck Americans. Fuck working Americans, fuck poor Americans, fuck people that have been affected by COVID, that have lost their job.
One person.
Still to this day, like freaking Deontay Wilder, to this day.
Oh man, come on. Speaking of, we need to get that man back in the ring. Come on.
ASAP.
Yeah.
ASAP. But not.
But Joshua, stop dodging Tyson Fury, bro. Come on, that fight needs to happen. Facts. And Fury's gonna win, but yeah, keep going.
Big facts. But Republicans on some wilder shit to this day are still like, fuck Americans. 50 of them came out. Thanks, appreciate that. 50 of them still came out and voted no. They're just like, nah, let them figure it out. Find something new.
But he's kind of like
by the bootstraps.
He's kind of like the thing. He's kind of like the thing, right? Like most of even their supporters are not going to look like all of their supporters are going to benefit from this, right? You're going to get an extra check, but that's the kind of like the whole thing behind this. I feel like they're doing it because they can, in a sense, virtue. Like there's just too many paths politically that'll make them look good, right? Regardless of whether they agree or disagree, their followers, right? Their people are still going to get the benefit of this. So they don't, it's like you're doing whatever you want, right? Because your supporters, the people that vote for you, are still going to benefit from it. And then you put in a position where later on, right? Like you can just be like, oh, I didn't agree to that if anything goes wrong with that, right? Or it's just like, it's annoying, that brand of politics. And I feel like that's kind of like what they're going to keep doing. It's just like, they're going to disagree with the Democratic Party 100%. And then they're going to jump on board and, take the good parts that come from things being passed. And then when something bad or an opportunity to present something bad comes up, they're gonna be like, "Well, I didn't vote for that shit. I told you that shit was wrong."
That's the reindeer games that we always talk about. You see what I'm saying? Like Republicans are
reindeers.
One thing I will give them, as trash as they are, and how I'll never be one. Like they're consistent.
No, never say never. Watch.
I can never say never to that.
Yeah, all right. We'll see.
They're consistent. They're consistent. They're consistently trash. They're consistently fuck everybody else. Like figure it out.
The U does not represent the views of the base.
Of course. Yeah, okay. Freaking Ed Boy is like best friends with Mitch McConnell. I'm not beat. So anyway, but yeah, it is what it is. Again, thank goodness Kamala, Vice President Kamala, she can cast that tiebreaker for the next 4 years at least, possibly the next 8 years if Joey goes back to back. And really, that's what it's going to come down to. I wouldn't be shocked if every major piece of legislation goes 51-50 for the next 4 years, dog, or the next 8 years, because they've got to be consistent. They can't flip flop and be like, you know what, these Democrats are actually making sense on some of this stuff. Let me go over here. Like, no, political game, dog. This is politics 101, or political theater. Really, that's what it is.
Ew. Fuck them. Just fuck them.
You're gonna get a $1,400 check, bro. Why are you so tight?
Because it should have been 2.
But it is, because 14 plus 6.
I see.
Did you say the 6? To the same.
I didn't get the 6 yet.
Hey, boy, you're gonna get yours, dog, at some point.
He's Republican. He makes too much money. Yo, so I guess just given the 21 days he's been in office, all the big ass promises that he's been making. You know, do you guys what do you guys think about this? What do you guys think this means for the Democrats and the tone they're setting?
They're not doing two things. They actually have a plan. Whether it's going to work out or whether it's going to pan out, that's another discussion. But
right.
Number one, they actually have a plan. And number two, they're not going to sit around and do jack shit, because that's what the previous administration was famous for. They were like, we have a plan, even though they don't have a plan. And we're not going to do anything. We're not going to pass major stimulus. We don't have a rollout for COVID relief or vaccinations or no. You guys are going to figure it out, because Americans are strong. You guys are patriots. You'll figure it out. Like, you see what I'm saying? So I would rather have a plan. I would rather have somebody that actually wants to do something, is going to try to do something. Whether they fail or succeed, they're actually going to try. I would rather that than someone that's like, I've already made my fucking millions or billions. So whether you guys succeed or not, it's irrelevant to me. But vote for me though, because to me, that's what I saw for the previous 4 years. So that's where I'm at with it. Here we are.
I'm on Hugo's side about it. It's like something. At least something is happening, right? I know Biden's pen hand is tired since he's signing all these.
Just sign, bro.
Let me go. All right, but it's something. He's trying to hit the ground running. He's trying to do everything to, like I've been saying in the beginning, trying to clean up the house that's been left to him. So it's like we just gotta sit and watch, see what's going on. It's only been 15 days, right? That he's been in. He's just out here trying to make some sort of change, attempting to.
Yeah, we'll see.
What about what do you think about the Republicans? Aren't some of them like what do you mean? Aren't some of them beefing amongst themselves and stuff?
Yeah,
like that?
yeah.
What do you
the older
mean
one
specifically? Like, what do you mean about like?